Morning, Gerald. I'm pretty sure you realise why I'm here. I've been asked to escort you in, and I'd appreciate what visa.
I'm nearly finished.
No, Gerald. Finish now.
Fair enough.
Good evening, Gerald. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting so long.
It's quite alright, Doctor. I'm in no hurry.
Very amusing. Okay, this is for the purposes of a tape. Interview commencing on November the 22nd at 7:27 p.m. Interviewer's name is Dr. James Trinker and the patient is Gerald Hayes. The purposes of this session is to gauge the mental competency of Mr. Hayes and to ascertain whether or not his lawyer's plea of insanity is justifiable before the completion of trial. Do you understand what's going on here, Gerald?
Yes, Doctor, I understand. Can I ask a question before we start? Why are we sitting in the dark?
Well, Gerald, what it turns out is a bright and well-lit room tends to excite the patients here at Bridge House. And as a result of this, quite often, progress in terms of diagnosis and treatment is somewhat severely hampered.
See, I would never have pegged that. I'd have naturally assumed that patients had a fear of the dark instead of the light.
Well, that may well be the case, Gerald. However, we find that if a criminal is in fact deemed criminally insane, then they feel far more comfortable and at ease in these darkened conditions. Okay, I'd like to now get started. What would you say were the driving forces or the circumstances behind your first murder?
Well, first of all, Doctor, I wouldn't regard them as murders. I'd say they're more artistic interpretations of the soul. You see, I like to capture the final moments of my subjects in the most personal and expressive way possible.
Sorry, Gerald. I won't make that mistake again.
That's fine, Doctor. My artistic undertaking began with my sister. Now, this simply came to be because I wanted her to do something with her life, but she seemed to find excuses at every turn to not embrace the gift that she was given. Thus, in an effort to make her into something better, to make her matter more, and at the same time end the suffering that she was causing and experiencing, I repeatedly struck her on the head with a hammer. And then I drew her last moments and made her last forever.
And what about your parents? Were they deserving participants in this little project of yours?
Well, my parents were an unfortunate accident, and as such you will not find any sketches of them. But when they came blundering in, I did what I had to do in order to continue my work.
Okay, I see. Following that, you managed to hide the evidence in the house fire, and then you moved to Europe, where I believe it was where you found your next victim.
There you go again, Doctor, using words that define me as a criminal. Drawing isn't a crime.
Yes, Gerald, that much is true. However, the killing of innocent people, that is a crime. Your artwork is not the reason you're here today, and I think you know that by now. Of course, it plays a part in your psychosis, but the reason I'm here is to determine whether those murders were in fact committed by an insane man or an evil man.
And what would be the difference between an evil man and an insane man, Doctor? I mean, surely the natural order of things is that people are generally good. So wouldn't that mean that an evil person is insane because it's a departure from the normal human condition? Or as you would say, the characteristic of an unsound mind? So what's the verdict, Doctor? Am I evil or am I insane?
It is not possible to determine that at this point.
No! I'm not asking you if your training or your education has provided you with a solid diagnosis. I'm asking your personal opinion, Doctor. Am I evil or am I insane?
I'm not going to answer that question, Gerald. It'd be entirely unprofessional of me and go against everything I stand for. So let's just move on, shall we? Why does it use artwork to realise your visions?
It allows me to capture the beauty of the subject and preserve them forever.
In which case, why not use photographs or camera footage to preserve your subjects?
Well, it's true, Doctor, I could use these conventional methods. I feel I get a much more personal touch, whether I use my pastels, my paints, or my pencils. My interpretations can be visualised much better on paper than videotape, Doctor. Videotape can be erased. Art is forever. I also like that I can affect a direct emotional response from somebody when they view my pictures, whether it be negative or positive. What emotion does my art evoke in you, Doctor?
Although I fear over very competent pieces of work, Gerald, the way you accomplish these is somewhat less palatable.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you appreciate life drawing?
I'm not really an art lover, but I feel I can appreciate the talent it takes to interpret something in a creative way.
Well, you see, my work is simply at the other end of the spectrum.
The way you achieve your work, that's what's in question here. Not your talent as an artist. You justifying these murders by saying your victims are in fact models is absurd, especially when you could have just used models or actors to obtain the exact same results.
Well, that would be dishonest, Doctor. You're simply not able to get the same results by using a living person. The beauty of my work is because of the stillness of the subject. Much like the early memorial death portraits of the 1800s, there's a certain poetry to the pictures taken by loved ones of their recently departed relatives.
That's not the same thing, Gerald. For one, those people, they didn't murder their loved ones. Furthermore, that practice is no longer observed here.
Not here, perhaps, but all over the world it's a tradition that's still being observed. I'm just carrying on the tradition. In my case, I pick someone, I'll study them for a few months, view their habits, practices, their lives, and see if they're a candidate.
And what gives you the right to pick and choose, Gerald? How do you select your candidates?
It's a lot easier than you think, Doctor. I locate and follow the most pathetic, used up and useless members of society. Like, say, for example, a mental health doctor who goes home alone to a barren house every night.
Excuse me?
Whose life is in tatters because of the death of his little girl that he believes he caused. A man whose wife can't look at him anymore because she thinks the same.
Shut up.
A man whose colleagues regard him as nothing more than a sad, pathetic, or what was it one report said? A suicide risk. Not very professional putting me in the same room with you, Doctor, if I might be so blunt.
Shut your mouth!
Even it's strange that I was apprehended so easily. Surely you're not as naive to think I simply gave myself up. I needed to know. Why do you persist on living? You have nothing left. You're a shell, a wreck, an absolute nothing.
I said shut your fucking mouth!
See how easy it is to kill someone? Take, for example, powdered glass. The guards kept wondering what was happening to the light bulbs in the lock-up bathroom. Funny thing is, if you were eating it, you would notice it due to the grittiness. And if you were drinking it, you'd feel it on its way down. I say though, you get someone so angry that for some reason they down the liquid containing the lethal substance. Well then, they end up like you. I'm sorry. I can only imagine how painful it must be. I wonder if I could trouble someone for my paints and papers.